Another supersized hike to interest rates is on the cards, and one of the primary reasons is out of Australia's control. Some economists, in anticipation of the Reserve Bank's October cash rate decision, tweaked their forecasts upwards amid a global economic downturn. Watch the video above, the biggest mistake taught to Year 12 students in Australia. Watch the latest news on Channel 7 or stream for free on 7+. Global stock markets are tanking amid fears of the recession in the United States, the UK and Europe. A global energy and inflation crisis, sparked predominantly by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, cut growth far more than earlier forecast, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, said. The global economic downturn could result in an increase to Australia's inflation rate, which would entice the RBA to hike rates again. The OECD is projecting real GDP to grow by 4.1% in 2022, down from its June forecast. Core inflation in Australia is also projected to hit 5.4% in 2022 before falling to 4.3% in 2023. That's a far cry from the RBA's inflation target of between 2% and 3%. The effects of the war and the continuing impacts of COVID-19 outbreaks in some parts of the world have dented growth and put additional upward pressure on prices, above all for energy and food, the OECD's Economic Outlook report said. The U.S. Federal Reserve aggressively increased the interest rate last month to counter its own inflation problem. It increased the cash rate by 75 basis points. The World Bank said in a statement central banks were moving with a degree of synchronicity not seen over the past 5 decades. Yet the currently expected trajectory of interest rate increases and other policy actions may not be sufficient to bring global inflation back down to levels seen before the pandemic, it said. In recent months, almost all central banks have increased rates, with China, Japan and Russia among the few exceptions. 3 of Australia's Big Four banks are predicting a 50 basis point rise to the cash rate on Tuesday. The outlier, the Commonwealth Bank of Australia, is forecasting a 25 basis point increase. Further increases to the cash rate are likely to only add pain to borrowers. Entering 2022, the cash rate remained at a record low 0.1%, implemented during the pandemic. RBA Governor Philip Lowe had previously insinuated that the cash rate wouldn't be hiked until 2024. But, since May, the cash rate has been increased in 5 consecutive months. 4 of those 5 increases have been 0.5%. The figure behind the increases is inflation, Lowe said. Inflation is expected to peak later this year and then decline back towards the 2% to 3% range, he said in a statement explaining the September decision. The expected moderation in inflation reflects the ongoing resolution of global supply-side problems, recent declines in some commodity prices and the impact of rising interest rates. Medium-term inflation expectations remain well anchored, and it is important that this remains the case. The bank's central forecast is for CPI inflation to be around 7.75% over 2022, a little above 4% over 2023 and around 3% over 2024. Ultimately, the RBA adjusts its rates to bring inflation into line with its target of between 2% and 3%. On Thursday, the Australian Bureau of Statistics revealed inflation had risen to 6.8% in the past 12 months. That figure was largely driven by construction and fuel prices. Statistician Dr. David Grunow said a slight fall since the 7.0% reported in August was due to a decrease in petrol prices. The largest contributors, in the 12 months to August, were new dwelling construction, up 20.7% and automotive fuel, up 15.0%, he said. The slight fall in the annual inflation rate from July to August was mainly due to a decrease in prices for automotive fuel. This saw the annual movement for automotive fuel fall from 43.3% in June to 15.0% in August.